we find for weeks available legally. Yeah. Really your
What about travel time zone? I got paid to travel different time zone.
to
Okay, so last video is on time zone break.
anxious or nervous after training. Cut it off. It goes you never know. Lose what you want to what we're aware of um, your not be if you have wonderful work, always be who that yourself with 40 years of accumulation, it doesn't take 8 years. If you seek in that time, unlike some politicians in that years. Where they need to be. Oh, I got this now. This is impulses. Only the human like it's the same. You know, the this is where we have through all of the get so one half what we try to do is we can use the purge.